What's going on, guys? So this is hopefully going to be a really interesting video for those of you who are in the market for a drop hitch and you've been looking at these two powerhouse brands, BMW versus Waysafe or Waysafe versus BMW, and you're trying to figure out which one will be the best product for your specific application. Let's talk about that. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so first and foremost, there are a lot of really reputable brands out there, but it is so important that you do look at a reputable brand of hitch, whether it's BMW, whether it's Waysafe, whether it's Gen Y or Bulletproof or Kurt. Look at brands that have a legacy of quality, a legacy behind how they build them in terms of testing them, making sure that they meet certain criteria, specifically the SAE ratings that are applied to trailer hitches, because you don't want to end up with a product that you think looks cool. It's an affordable price, everything looks awesome about it, but it's some generic brand that they're lying about the certifications, they're just fudging the numbers, and they're trying to make you believe it's seriously capable, when in fact you know that it just probably hasn't gone through the type of testing that your more reputable brands have put their hitches through. That said, in front of you are absolutely two rock star brands when it comes to drop hitches. And these are brands that most people, if they've been looking for a drop hitch, are definitely on their radar. BMW has been around for a long time. This is actually one of the first drop hitches I featured on my channel when everything got started. This is the BMW with the 3-inch shank. I put this inside of my 2017 F450 that I had. If you have a 3-inch shank, it's going to be a Ford truck, it's going to be a Super Duty 2017 or newer, or it's going to be some huge, Super C motorhome that also can come equipped with the 3-inch shank. But from a pickup truck perspective, the only truck that's going to be able to support the 3-inch shank, whether it be from BMW or whether it be from Waysafe, will be the 2017 or newer Super Duty properly spec'd with the 3-inch shank. Now that said, everything else here is either on a 2-inch shank, 2-inch shank, 2-inch shank, or a 2.5-inch shank. These are 2.5, and that one's also 2.5-inch shank. So if you want the maximum capability of any of these, well, the maximum capability is really actually going to be this one right here. This Waysafe, which is kind of a new product from them. This is the 180 Steel Pro. It is a steel hitch with a 2.5-inch shank, and this one has a 25,000 pound maximum towing capacity. So this one exceeds the rest of these by several thousand pounds. Next in line would be both the BMW and the Waysafe right here with the 3-inch shank, and these are both going to have 21,000 pounds worth of maximum tow capacity, with the Waysafe slightly edging out the BMW in terms of vertical hitch weight capacity. This is going to be 2,200 pounds of downwards pressure for hitch weight capacity, whereas the BMW is going to be 2,100 pounds. That said, if you are interested in Waysafe products, you're probably interested in the scaled version as well, which actually has the integrated scale on it. And something that's kind of cool to know about Waysafe is that the hitch head itself is always rated to the maximum tongue weight capacity of any of them. What I mean by that is this hitch head is rated at 2,200 pounds worth of vertical tongue weight capacity. The shanks themselves are going to have a rating, and the ball head assembly itself will have its own rating. So the ball head assemblies are what have that 2,200 pound hitch weight rating, whereas the shanks are going to be slightly different. In terms of the 2.5-inch shank and the 3-inch shank, they share the same 2,200 pound rating. But when you go to the smaller shank, the 2-inch shank, it's going to have a 1,500 pound rating. So again, always keep that in mind. Always understand it's not just about tow capacity, it's also about tongue weight capacity. Now, when we look at these products, a couple of them kind of stand out, and let's talk about that. So first of all, I really like what BMW does with its tow and stow technology. There's a lot of great technology built into this, but they do require maintenance. You are going to have to make sure that you lubricate where the pins go in, and you clean it up, because if dirt and grime gets into those spots, these pins can be a little troublesome to get out. And that's probably the only downside that I've really had with the BMW product. There's a lot of steps involved with getting it set up, removing pins, flipping things around, putting it in a stowed position or in a usage position. But at the end of the day, these pins can sometimes get kind of grimy, and you want to make sure that you keep these areas clean, because when they get grimy, they're a little bit difficult to take out. And quite frankly, that's just something that I really don't care for. So yeah, these pins, like I said, they can really kind of get wedged in there. You want to make sure you clean them. You want to make sure you apply some oil to them, just so they stay functioning the way you want. There's a little bit of movement and slop associated, but not a heck of a lot. But you can definitely see right here in the camera where there is some movement, even when it's in a locked position and it's ready to go. And that's going to be with all of the BMW products. This portion right here definitely has a tighter tolerance when the pins are in place versus the head, but that's mainly because the head has to pivot and spin around right here, and there's a little bit of movement to make sure that that's fluid. But overall, it's still a really, really, really well-built product. I don't think there's many people out there who have a BMW product who have had any issues with it, other than the fact that you do have to get those pins out occasionally, clean out the area, make sure there's no dirt or grime, and then add some oil and put them back in. But the claim to fame, again, behind the BMW product is the tow and stow technology, which is the fact that they built a really, really high-quality hitch with the ability to stow it underneath when you're not using it. Okay, so now let's take a look at the tow and stow product and how it works. Now I've removed a pin from the hitch head assembly right here so I can show you how it rotates, and I've taken my infinite rule locking pin off of the bottom section here so I can take it out. The reason why I have a locking pin here is because either I lost a pin because it shook itself loose and the pin came out right here, or somebody tried to take the hitch head a long time ago and I opted to go ahead and just lock the hitch head in place so I didn't have to worry about that again. So I've removed that. In order to adjust the ball size, you simply pull that pin out like that, and you can spin the ball whichever orientation you need it to be for the type of trailer you're towing. Now, if you put it on your smallest, which is going to be the 1 7/8 inch ball, you use a different hole here on the side to secure it in place. But once it's secured in place, you drop your pin in, put your retainer clip there, and that's the ball that you're on. If you need to go to a 2-inch ball, you simply put it right there. We're going to put it in the front hole now, and now we'll go in the 2-inch hole. And if we need to use the 2 5/16 inch ball, you simply do that, put your pin in place, and you're good to go. So really convenient setup. It works really well. But again, you do want to be sure that you are greasing it. You can see that I have grease applied to the pins, just because if they start to seize up, if you start to get any grime or rust or anything inside of there, it can make it difficult for these pins to come loose, which can make it a little bit more of a pain if you're trying to use this product. At the end of the day, though, very high quality product. The stow configuration typically requires you to put this so the ball is in the 1 7/8 inch spot. Drop your pin in right here. It's a little harder to do when it's not on the truck. Pop that pin out. Pop that pin out. That one's already out. Or the lock's off. And then you'll take your hitch assembly and it will stow underneath like this. So it's out of the way off the back of your vehicle, and it basically makes the back of your truck pretty much flat. You don't have to worry about hitting your leg. And then of course you'd pop these pins in here to lock it back in place so it's in its stowed position. And actually it's about as difficult as I just made it out to be, right? Because sometimes you can see there's a little bit of motion right here. If this pin isn't in place, it's kind of free to move. So you have to be sure that this pin does go into the right hole here whenever you are putting it in its stowed position. And sometimes it takes searching for that hole a little bit. But that is what it looks like in a stowed position. And again, your receiver is going to be right here, so you really only have like 2 inches of hitch sticking off the back of your vehicle, which makes this a really convenient setup for a lot of folks. This is going to be really nice. It gets it out of the way when you're not using it. It's just like I said, you have to pop out these 2 pins plus your 3rd pin. So essentially, to get this ready to tow again, unless you're using the 1 7/8 inch ball, which I would venture to say most people aren't, unless you're towing like jet skis, you got to remove all 3 pins to put it back in its towing position. So let me demonstrate that, I guess. I'm going to pop that pin out. I'm going to pop that pin out. We're going to swing it around, get it back in a towing configuration. You can see the grease from where I've recently serviced this one. Pop 1 pin in, pop the 2nd pin in, and if these are dirty, if these holes have rust in them or any issues, it makes it a lot more difficult to get the pins in place. But now the pin's in place, now we want to switch to the correct ball. Pop that pin out, put it on the 2 5/16 inch ball, that's back, put the pins in, and in my case, I'll lock the bottom one, and I'm ready to tow. Again, it's not as if it's super labor intensive or it takes a tremendous amount of time, but you should be aware of the process, and that's what the process is for the BMW Tow and Stow, regardless of which one you get. They're all the same. Okay, so now let's take a look at the WaySafe product. So the ability for you to move to a different height adjustment with the ball is definitely easier with WaySafe. It's a lot easier. I basically unlock the pin from the side, pull it out, I slide it to whatever hole I want to put it into, and because it's in a channel and the tolerances are really tight, it's super easy to find that actual hole and get the pin back in place. So it makes it really, really convenient if you're switching either to the other ball, if you need to go to a 2-inch ball, or if you need to raise or lower your hitch head assembly. It's just really convenient, mainly because of that channel, and it's being guided in that channel the entire time, and it's one lock that pulls 2 pins out. Just makes the process super, super easy to work with. And I really enjoy the fact that it is that easy. Now, if you want to flip the ball over when you're not using it, the only one you can do that on would either be on the steel version or on the aluminum with the 2.5-inch or the 2-inch shank. The reason why is because the material thickness right here is the same as right here. So if I want to take this hitch head off and stow it, I can do that. I can simply remove the hitch head, put it upside down, slide it back on, and the ball will be on this side, and it will be out of the way. Unfortunately, if you have a 3-inch shank with Ford, you won't be able to do that because the steel is thicker. Let's see if we can get it right here than it is right here, and the channel won't slide over that. Now, also, if you are dealing with these more shallower drops, in the case of these, you're looking at 6-inch drops, you could have the capability of taking the 180 version of this one right here, the aluminum, and flipping it over, because you might still have some room to be able to do that, but I would caution against doing that because it could cause it to drag on the ground. That said, though, you can stow this one out of the way on either the 2.5-inch or the 2-inch. When I say this one, the scale version out of the way, or this one with the scale, which is the steel version with the scale on the back of the hitch if you're not using it, which can make things a little bit easier and take up less room off the back of your vehicle. Okay, so WaySafe is not without their own issues at times as well. So as reliable as their hitch has been, there have been folks who've said the scales just stopped working, or they seized up, or they're just not working properly. And there are ways of fixing it yourself if you search around Google, and there are means to send it back to have them fix it for you as well, if that happens. But just like the BMW products, you do have to maintain it. You have to make sure it's clean, take the ball out, try to get all the dirt, grime, and grum out of the inside of this assembly. It's really easy to do. It's just a pin that holds the ball in place once you remove the hitch head assembly, and then once that pin is out, you can access the space underneath this ball just to try to maintain it and keep it as clean as possible. And to demonstrate that, you just simply pull the lock out, pull the ball head off. You have the pin right here, you pop the pin out, and the ball will come out. In this area right here, I just cleaned on this specific one. It can get really dirty. And when it gets really dirty, it can probably get into the seals or possibly damage them. So you do want to try to maintain it and keep it clean. It has a little drain out area right here. So if water gets into it, it can drain out the bottom. But at the end of the day, any of these hitches are going to require a little bit of maintenance just to be sure that you're taking care of them, you're getting dirt, dust, and all that other stuff out of there, which could possibly permeate into the seal, causing problems. But still a very reliable product. Something that is a little different is I have noticed that there are some WaySafe products that will come stamped made in the USA, and then there are some products that will come stamped, let's see if this is one of them, where it says engineered in the USA, made in China. So if you are looking for a brand that is 100% US manufactured, I believe BMW is still 100% US manufactured, but I still believe a large part of what WaySafe does is still manufactured here in the US, but I did want to bring that up to you because if you look at some of their products, you'll see where it says made in the USA, and this one also says made in the USA. So I don't know if all of the manufacturing is moved overseas, but I do know that some of it has because some of the products do say engineered in the US, but made in China. All of these don't stick off too far off the back of your vehicle. Compared to some brands like Gen Y and Bulletproof, which really stick off the back of your vehicle, these have done a pretty good job of maintaining about 8.5 inches or less of space off the back of your vehicle when they're in their fully deployed, ready to use position. But the nice thing about both BMW and WaySafe is the fact that you can take the ball head off, flip them upside down, and place them underneath the receiver out of the way, which is really nice. And that's a big perk. I love the 180 series. These are really nice because they're so easy to use. With the channel type adjustment right here, it's awesome. This steel version has a 2-inch receiver right here. It is not designed for recovery equipment, which is the one big flaw I think this product has. I really, really wish they had designed this with a rating for recovery because I think it's needed. If you're going to have an additional receiver like that, being able to use a hook, being able to use a pintle adapter, being able to use a clevis adapter, being able to use a shackle, something inside of here I think is really important, and it's just, to me, it's something that they should have included, even if they have to put a weight rating on there, with the disclaimer that if you use it for recovery, you void the warranty. I don't know, but I would love to see some type of a rating right here I understand in concept why they don't have it from a liability perspective because of how the wings kind of attach to the channel. Perhaps you can create some energy or leverage in one way or another that can cause the welding or something to break. But with the thickness of the steel, the weight of this thing, I really believe that they should have some type of a recovery rating associated with that center shackle mount. I don't think it would be a far stretch to do that or to add that, even if they have to reinforce some areas in order for that to happen. At the end of the day, though, I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think about these products? Which one do you gravitate towards? The aluminum products' big claim to fame is their weight. They're very, very lightweight comparatively speaking. And when I say comparatively speaking, you're talking probably 10 pounds less than even the lighter BMW hitch when you're comparing the WaySafe. It's a lot less weight and bulk to carry around if that matters to you. If that doesn't matter to you, you have a steel version of both products, and you also have the BMW product, which absolutely is a tank of a product as well. But drop a comment below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I will put links to these products in the description of this video. Big shout out to my channel sponsor, eTrailer.com, as well as BMW and WaySafe, who have provided these products to me for review and evaluation over the years. Let me know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.